Okay, first of all, when we hear the word law, what this reminds us of? What do we mean by law? When you hear the word law, do you feel happy, or maybe feel unsatisfied, or you might think of a traffic law? Yeah. What do you think? What is the first impression comes to your mind when you hear the word law? Can anybody answer this question? Just tell me from your experience, when you hear the word law, what do you feel? Do you feel happy or you feel unhappy? Something to be followed? Order? Rules? Order.
Procedures.
Procedures?
To lead a disciplined life. To lead a disciplined life.
To lead a disciplined life? What is the law? Can you define the law? What is the law? I mean, if someone asks you, what is the law? Can anyone define us? What is the law? You said something like procedures, rules, regulations, discipline, do you think law should be implemented fully and equally between all and in all cases? Do you think that?
Yeah.
In all cases? Okay, what about penalizing a worker who is sleeping at work? Do you think he should be penalized? Depend on the case. That's very important. For example, if he is a diabetic, for example, and he cannot stay awake for the whole 8 hours. So that's why laws are important. But when we come to the secondary title of the law, I mean, when we look to the main title of the law, yes, laws are important and they should be they should be implemented, they should be followed in all cases. But when we come to the secondary, the exceptional cases, here we need people. We cannot just rely on texts. That's why we need people, because people will decide. Of course, first they will make the law. They will endorse the law, maybe either in democratic process through parliament or whatever, and in other countries in another way. But at the end, people will adopt the law, they will make the law, and then they will implement the law. So laws are procedures, rules and regulations, and discipline that are made, endorsed, approved, implemented, and amended by people. We need people. What is the importance of the law? We all have a general impression that laws are not implemented fully. So why should we have law? All these international laws, we have the convention, we have the international treaties, we have the United Nations regulations and rules for human rights, etc. And we have also local laws. But when we come to implementation, we always say that there is a very big gap between the implementation and the text. So why laws are important? If they are not implemented fully, if they are not implemented in all cases, if there are some exceptional, okay, I'm not talking about some exceptions which are justified exceptions, but I'm talking about sometimes there are exceptions because who is being out of the law? Because of the person, maybe he is a prominent person or a powerful person, please will be exempted from law application. So then why should we have the law? Why do we have the law? Why do we have conventions? Why do we have regulations? Either written or constitutions or verbal or non-verbal? Why? Why do we have that? preventive cases. Yeah. Because you see, without law, without the law, we will not be able to know the gap between the ideal and the actual situation. The actual situation is here. And the ideal situation is okay. So we should keep the actual down. And the ideal situation is here. I think I have to write this. Okay. Now, without the law, we will not know what is the gap between the actual and the ideal situation. I will try to find some translation in Arabic also. We can say here al-mawjood, the existing situation, and we can say here al-manshood, the ideal situation. Yes, maybe laws and regulations, conventions, treaties are not implemented, that's right. But at least as human beings, we know what should we do. We know that there is an ideal situation at the end. There is at least a vision in our mind, because human being is the only creature that have vision. Other creatures don't have. So at least we have a vision in our mind that we need to reach here. Without the law, without these regulations, I'm talking not only about the human laws, but also talking about the religions, other. Without these laws, we will not know the situation, the gap between the actual and the ideal situation. Okay. What are the types of the law? Can anyone tell me what are the types of the law? Okay, let us say in terms of who endorsed this law. Okay, we have local government, company. What are the types of the law? Legal. No, I mean in terms of who make the law, in terms of who adopt the law, who implement the law.
Civil, so you said
that's right. So we have government, we have social, that are enforced by the community. If you live in a certain community, there are something that you do and something you don't do.
Financial.
Civil society, by law, yeah, political, of course, so we all know that the Constitution, we always say that the Constitution is the father of the law in all countries. And below this Constitution, comes our local law made by the government or adopted by the parliament. And we have also other laws that are not written, they are just imposed verbally, like family law. When you're a father or when you are a father, you tell your kid, don't come home late or get up early for school. So these are also a family law. So those laws, some of them are written, some of them are verbal, and some of them are maybe visual, Like, I mean, when we speak about the traffic law, they will just put you a sign, they will just show you a sign that you should follow it. No need for words. Okay, here are some different definitions of the law. Law is a system, rules that are created and enforced through governmental or social institutions. Of course, there should be an institution. Without institution, there is no law, regardless to this institution, whether it is formal institution or it is just traditional institution made by people. There should be a kind of institution that will enforce the law and adapt and enforce the law. Okay, another definition is the law is a system, helps regulate and ensure that a community show respect and equality. Law is a binding custom or practice of a community rule or mode conduct action that is prescribed, formally recognized as binding, controlling authority, or made obligatory by sanctions. Of course, sanction is very important part of the law. I'm speaking about the disciplinary measure, for example, like in the company. A legal system is the most explicit, institutionalized, and complex mode of regulating a human conduct. At the same time, it plays only one part of rules, which influence behavior. For social and moral rules of less institutionalized kind also have a great importance. This means that not only the formal law, but also informal law play a very important role in our life. Okay, this is just brief about the history of the law. We have some points about the history of the law. 3000 BC, the Egyptian civil code in 12 books, social equality and impartiality. 1760 BC, also we have Hammurabi. By the way, one of our trade union leaders, his name is Hammurabi, Alayan Kimberley, okay. Many people say that he was the first man to put a law. 1280 before the Christ also, the Old Testament, and then we have other laws in the Indian culture. So the history of the law is very old. This is one example of the law. This is the longest constitution in the world, the Indian Constitution, the Constitution of the Republic of India. Okay, it consists of 444 articles, 12 schedules, numerous amendments, and 117,369 words. This is a brief information about Bahrain. The kingdom is an island state in the Arab Peninsula. Our area is almost 954 kilometers, and almost 1,000 kilometers square, connected with KSA by King Fahd, independent from Britain 1971. After people referendum in 2002 became a kingdom. Since 2012, ranked as 48 over the world in a human development UN indicator, and member of United Nations, ILO, WTO, Arab League Organization of Islamic Conference, and founding member of the Gulf Cooperative Council of Arab States. The main industries in Bahrain are construction, telecommunications, aluminium, iron and steel, petrochemicals, beverage, paper products, banking, commerce, fishing, transformative industries, tourism. The GDP per capita is 28.756, 28,000 of course, 0.756. This is a brief about the history of our trade union. At the beginning, Bahrain economy was relying not on oil. I mean, before 1932. Before 1932, Bahrain economy was relying on diving for pearls, agriculture, and commerce. The oil was found in 1932. And at that time, we had the first group of workers' class at that time, 1932. So it's not a very old workers' class. I mean, unlike other industrial, very long-time industrial countries. At that time, of course, 1938, there were some movement by workers in the oil refinery to have. At the beginning, their demand were not asking for a trade union, but they were asking for basic workers' rights. Because the trade union as an idea, trade union is mainly, at first, is a political idea. For those workers who are engaged and busy with their basic needs or basic demands, they will not think of a trade union, but they may think of just increasing wages, changing their work environment to a better environment, safety and health, but only after some time of gathering together as a worker class, then the political awareness will come, and people will ask themselves, why should we ask for small demands? Why don't we organize ourselves in groups, in a trade union movement or in societies or whatever, in order to get our demand, in order to reach for legislation that will help change our situation. In 1954, we have the first labor federation in Bahrain. It was in Arabic called الأتحاد العمال البحراني, and then in Bahrain Labor Federation, but didn't include only workers, but it included also those who have the small professional, they are not employer, they don't have workers under their they don't have subordinate, but they were self-employed, who have their own establishment. They were also part of this trade union. In 1982, we have what we call joint labor consultative committees. At that time, there were no trade unions, but joint labor consultative committee were based on some articles in the ex-labor code. The Joint Labor Committee, Consultative Committee consists of 5 employer representatives. Of course, the employer representatives are appointed, and 5 elected worker representatives. For example, when we have Babco or Alba, you have 5 from employer that are appointed, and 5 from workers, they are elected. And by the end of this Joint Labor Consultative Committee in 2002, we have 19 companies with, of course, 5 worker representatives each. This means we have 90 workers representatives. Those representatives, those 90 worker representatives, made the General Assembly of the General Worker in Bahrain, General Worker Committee in Bahrain. But of course, in 2002, in 2001, we have the National Charter after the demise of the ex-Amir and the rulership of His Majesty the King. In 2001, we have the National Charter, and in 2002, we have our constitution, the existing constitution, which stated the right for workers to have trade unions. In 2004, our federation, General Federation of Bahrain Trade Union, was founded in 2004, January 2004. From 12 to 14, 2004, we have our founding Congress. At that time, we have 39 trade unions. At the founding time of our federation. And now we have about 50 trade unions. Of course, all our trade unions, or most of them, are on the establishment level. I know that all of you are in India, Philippines, New Zealand, you came from country where you have mainly your trade unions are sectoral trade unions. Every trade union will include, for certain sectors, they will include all workers under this sectoral trade union. Whereas in Bahrain, we have only establishment trade unions, but hopefully we can go to this sectoral trade union in the future. I will speak now about the migrant workers in Bahrain. People in the Gulf tend to forget that they were migrants themselves. Before oil, and at the first years after finding oil in Bahrain, people were migrating, there were inter-migration in the Gulf region. Bahrainis were going to Saudi Arabia, Omanis were coming to Bahrain, but people now maybe they tend to forget this. That's why they feel sometimes not well with migrant worker, because if you do not consider yourself as a migrant in the past, then you will not understand the feeling of the migrant worker, you will not understand the problem of migration. Workers in Bahrain, migrant workers in Bahrain represent 70%, or more than 70%. In fact, they represent now, they represent 77%, because we have about 700,000 workers in Bahrain, and we have 160,000 Bahrainis, and the rest are migrants. So this means that migrant workers represent more than 75% in our country. From the beginning of our foundation, our General Federation was very strong defending all workers' rights, regardless to their nationality, regardless to their race. At the beginning, when this the law of labor market regulation authority (LMRA) was being discussed as a draft, there were very big debate about the freedom of mobility for workers from one employer to another. And at that time, employers were very much resisting adoption of this right, the right of mobility for workers. But because General Federation at that time was also a member in the tripartite board of the LMRA, so we supported the free mobility for workers. Another point, in 2011, there were very big discussion in the International Labour Conference, which is an annual conference in Geneva, organized by ILO. There were very much discussion about whether we should or we should not have an instrument, a convention, an international convention, or plus an international recommendation that covers the domestic workers' right. And at that time, there were very big discussion between countries who were pro-adopting this convention and countries who were against. Our federation, General Federation of Bahrain Trade Union, was the only federation that supported fully the adoption of this convention, and we have now this convention, which is Convention 189, that is covered the right of domestic workers in a decent work. Decent work for domestic workers. These are the statistics of the last quarter of 2016 visa. This is a quarterly report, so you can see that the biggest number of visa are for construction, and this is the work permits from 2012 until 2016. Of course, all these presentations and information are in your flash memory. They will distribute the flash memory for you. When we see here the employment trend, we can see that the employment trend of national workers is almost constant, whereas for the migrant workers it is increasing, and this is because of the economy of our country is mainly relying on migrant work, because construction makes a very big part of our economy, and construction is mainly relying on migrant workers. I mean, not only in Bahrain. When you go to many countries, countries who have some kind of affluency, they will rely on construction on migrant workers. We have also some information about the sea, but my brother Salman will let you know. And here, the domestic workers increase. We have domestic workers increase in our country. Of course, for a long time, domestic workers were not considered as workers. People, I mean, not only in Bahrain, but all over the world, people spend very long time considering domestic work as not a kind of labor. That's why, for a long time, domestic workers' rights were ignored completely. They were, for example, in our law, they were completely excluded from the law, but now they are covered under some articles. Because people now have just understand, very recently, just a few years ago, people are understanding more and more that domestic workers are doing labor, and they should have the right to have decent work and to have fair wages, to have weekend, to have paid annual leave. You see, this was our previous labor law. When you see this labor law, I don't know why I have this. It was excluding domestic workers completely. The provisions of this shall not be applicable to the following: domestic servants and persons regarded as such. Workers used for occasional temporary work. So you see that domestic workers were completely excluded from the law. And you will see now the difference in our new law. The provisions of this law shall not be applicable to the employees of the government and public entities or who are subject to regulations of the civil military service. And this is the very important paragraph. Say, for the provisions stipulated in articles from 6 to 6, 19, 20, 21, 37, 38, 40, 49, 58, and 183, and 185, and in part 12 and 13 of this law, provisions of this law shall not apply to the following person: domestic servant, which means that now, fortunately, domestic workers are covered partially, but not fully by our labor. مهدية لمتى عندي وقتنا؟ كم؟ اوكي. These are some articles that cover domestic workers' rights. Article number 40. Wages should be payable to a worker shall be paid in the Bahrain legal tender. An agreement may be reached for payment thereof in legally available foreign currency. Here I will speak about the main problem of migrant workers. There is no trade union movement for migrant workers because many of migrant workers now think that you are working in some area where you have trade unions, but majority of migrant workers, especially those who are working in construction, they don't have trade unions in their establishment. And in order to organize those workers, either we make a trade union in these companies, local trade in these companies, or we make a sectoral trade union for the whole construction that will include all those workers together in these constructions. Otherwise, we will not be able to organize migrant workers. But you will see here, our federation was always paying attention to migrant workers' rights. This is one of our activities, the migrant workers' housing. This was in 2013. This seminar was organized with Ministry of Interior and with other also organizations, and was concentrating on the problem of migrant workers who live in indecent houses, and of course most of them are what they call free visa. This is the worker protest for salaries. Of course, our federation was also supporting the right of workers to get their salaries. And last of these cases is GBZ, Zachariades, and also Mercury and other companies. This is our trade union law. I took just two main articles. The provision of the law, our trade union law, which was endorsed in 2002, is one of the best. It's not the best, but it is one of the best trade union law in the Arab region, as it does not put any kind of conditions, any kind of restriction for trade unionism. I mean, it does not say that the trade union should be, trade union member should be Bahraini or should be whatever. So, and there is also no restriction on number of workers who are eligible to found a trade union. There is no restriction at all. So it is one of the best trade union laws. You see here article number 2. The provisions of the law shall be applicable to all workers, and remember that, who are subject to the labor law for the private sector. All workers who are subject to the provisions for maritime code. All workers who are subject to the civil service, but of course there is no exception for the civil service workers. Number 3, membership of a trade union organization and continuation thereof, as well as withdrawal therefrom, shall be guaranteed. Trade union activities shall not be used as means and justification in employment or influencing workers in any manner. And there is also a sanction for any worker, any employer who do that. He will have to pay to compensate the workers with from 2 to 6 month salaries. If he make any action against a worker just because of his trade union activity. And this is I would say this is the most important article in our trade union law. All workers in any firm, certain business, okay, activities in industries linked with each other shall have the right to form their trade union in accordance with the provisions of this law, provided that this establishment of the trade union shall not be based on sectarian, religious, or ethnical basis. So there should be no basis of ethnical or sectarian or religious to form a trade union. But of course, there is a gap. That's what I talked about at the beginning, that we have a good legal framework, but there is a gap between the law and the reality. There are about 19 articles in the labor law that apply to domestic workers. But how can we implement this? What is the important in implementing a law? Is to listen to those who are suffering, to give their complaint. I mean, if you have a very beautiful law, but you do not listen, you do not have a way for those workers to reach for fairness mechanism. How can they come and tell you that I'm suffering? How can a domestic worker come and tell that she is not getting her salary paid? From our experience, we know that in Bahrain, unless the worker is subject to maybe physical violence or maybe other kind of violence, then she will try to reach the shelter of the national shelter, and then maybe they will understand. But what about hundreds of, we have now in Bahrain, for example, I'm talking just as an example for domestic workers. In Bahrain now we have 1,000 domestic workers. Those domestic workers, they have the right in the law. But how can they get their right if they are not organized and if they are not, if they don't have the way to reach to fairness mechanism? Of course, this somehow, but maybe in a lower grade, apply to you, apply to all of you. You have the right to join a trade union. And you have the right to mobilize from your employer to another. You have the right to terminate your contract with the employer. Unlike before, when you have to get a permission from the employer, now you don't have to. You just have, after working for 1 year, you have the right to give your, terminate your contract with your employer. But if this law, if this article is violated, how we will know? If you are not a part of the trade union, and if you do not reach with your complaint to the trade union and to your trade union colleagues. Of course, we cannot rely only on inspectors because we have very small number of inspectors in Bahrain. I mean, if we rely just on inspectors, they will go and inspect one establishment. We have very small number of inspectors. Despite the trade union law, give the full right for all workers, regardless of nationality, migrant workers, still represent very small number among GFBTU affiliates, maybe 1%. 1% maybe for our membership. We have membership of about 10,000 plus. Maybe 1% of those 10,000 are migrant workers. Of course, this is because of you and because of us also. I mean, we both need to work together in order to increase this membership number of the trade unions. The problem, of course, is bigger for those companies where there is no trade unions and for domestic workers where we cannot make trade unions and families. So, at last, I will just make a general discussion on how we can increase, I will just listen from you, how we can increase the membership in the trade unions. Just tell me your ideas. ما في ورقة. Yes. Anyone would like to share with us his idea on how to increase the membership of our trade unions from migrant workers. Yes? One mic. On the mic. كم عندي وقت مالية؟ ليش؟ Yes? Anyone would like to suggest some steps to increase the membership of our trade union members, of migrant workers? What he is going to do, or what he want us to do as General Federation? Okay.
Maybe from the start, for example, there's a new employee. I think everyone, they undergo like orientation during their first days like this. So I think they should have also like a topic about the trade unions, how they can apply or they can join.
Okay.
So during recruitment.
Increasing awareness and educating workers. So this should be done by the existing trade unions in the
Here in the company. Or if, for example, if they are already in the company, they should give, I think, also same like this.
Yes, even local sessions in the establishment. Yes.
These migrant workers, before coming here, they have already, I think, trade union in their place. So we need to add more their knowledge and what they will benefit, or if suppose there is some abuse in their workplace, they have something to defend for it. So we need to tell them about this one. That before coming here, they have already trade union in their place, like say Philippines, India, or other places.
So coordinating with the trade unions in the sending countries in order PDO, pre-departure orientation, so that he will know that when he goes to Bahrain, there are trade unions, he can join and he can. Okay? Yes?
I always enjoy when I come in I get a stamp in the passport and it says Bahrain business friendly. I'd like to suggest that the trade union has some form of just telephone numbers so people can speak verbally, and some writing in their natural language just to explain a very simple handout what the trade union movement can do for you. And what you have to say to people is, what is in this for me? And knowing your rights, and when you come through the immigration desk, I think that's the point to pick people up on. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone would like to suggest something? How we can increase membership of our trade unions? How we can increase workers who don't have trade union to make trade union? So we have the PDO, pre-departure orientation by trade unions and sending countries. And we have using the migration desk, or the when worker come the airport, by some trade union leaders who can deliver this message. And we have making local seminars and local workshops inside the workplace. Anything else? Anyone would like to suggest something?
Social media.
Yeah?
Social media, you can use that.
Social media, yeah, using the social media of the of a trade union. I will show you one of the social media work that was done by our federation, YouTube, and I will end here so that you can get to listen to my colleague. هذا في انترنت مهدية؟ ها؟ يعني إذا مشغل هذا أول واحدة كاري فيزيتر اوكي شنو الباسورد؟ لا ما الباسورد شنو نفس الشيء؟ This film was made by our federation on the paying wages for domestic workers. So this is part of our hopefully that the speed of this Wi-Fi network is okay to operate this film. Okay. Go for 10-minute break, then come back. Well,
Just take a break for 10-15 minutes till we step up.
Right.